Rain whispered against the glass, soft and constant, like the ticking of time. Emma couldn't stop. Outside, the street was empty, just a blur of wet asphalt and dim streetlights reflected in puddles. Inside the cafe copyright, the smell of roasted beans and caramel syrup lingered, sweet but heavy with the scent of endlings. Emma stood behind the counter, her hands moving automatically as she cleaned the espresso machine for the last time. The steam hissed and faded. The machine had been her pride, gleaming, reliable, the heart of the haven. But lately, even its hum felt tired. Last night, she murmured under her breath, glancing around the quiet space. The mismatched chairs, the books stacked by the window, the hand-painted menu. She'd built all of it with hope. Hope that people would come not just for coffee, but for comfort. That someone, somewhere, would walk in and find the same warmth she had longed for since her divorce 2 years ago. But the world didn't work like that. Not for dreamers like her. She checked the clock. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until midnight. 13 minutes until she would turn off the lights and lock the door. Maybe for good. A pang of sadness pulsed through her chest as she thought of the letter tucked in her apron pocket of the eviction notice. 2 months behind on rent. The landlord's patience worn thin. She'd begged for another week, but he'd only given her one last warning. Her fingers trembled as she picked up the closed sign. She hesitated, staring at the hand-drawn lettering she'd once painted with excitement. Closed. The word felt too final. Just as she was about to flip it, the bell above the door chimed softly. Emma froze. A gust of cold air swept in, carrying the smell of rain and the faintest trace of cologne. Something clean, subtle, expensive. A tall man stepped through the doorway, water dripping from his long coat. His dark hair was slicked back, though the rain had loosened a few strands that clung to his forehead. His presence filled the small cafe copyright effortlessly, as if he wasn't used to being told number. She blinked in surprise. "Yeah, I'm sorry, sir," she said quickly, brushing a curl behind her ear. "We're about to close." The man looked up, his blue-gray eyes tired but kind. His voice, when he spoke, was deep and calm, like he hadn't spoken to anyone in a while. "Then maybe broken bar." He paused, a faint smile touching his lips. "A broken bar, one last coffee?" Something about his tone, gentle, but edged with loneliness, made her pause. Against her better judgment, she nodded. "All right," she said softly. "One last coffee." He exhaled, as though relieved, and took a seat near the window. His coat, still dripping, left small puddles on the tile. He didn't seem to notice. He just stared outside, watching the rain trace lines across the glass, his face illuminated by the soft golden light of the cafe copyright. Emma turned back to the counter, pulling a clean cup from the rack. The simple rhythm of her hands soothed her. Grinding beans, tapping the grounds, steaming milk. She'd made 1,000 cups like this, but somehow, tonight felt different. Maybe it was because she knew it might be her last. When the coffee was ready, she carried it over. "House blend," she said, setting it gently before him. "Strong, helps when the night feels heavier than usual." He looked up, meeting her eyes. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said quietly, "It smells a broken bar comforting." "Coffee usually does," she replied, smiling faintly. "It doesn't fix life, but it helps you breathe through it." He nodded thoughtfully and took a sip. "That's truer than you think." She tilted her head. "Rough day." His lips twitched. "Rough life." The words slipped out before he seemed to realize it. He chuckled softly afterward, as though embarrassed. Emma didn't press, but something in his expression, something lonely, tugged at her heart. He looked around. "You run this place alone?" "Yeah," she said, wiping the counter. "Started 2 years ago. My ex-husband and I dreamed about owning a cafe copyright together. But after the divorce, a broken bar, it became my dream. And it's still standing, for now," she murmured, glancing around at the empty tables. "But the truth is, I can't keep it open much longer." He studied her quietly. His hands, strong but graceful, rested on the table, a gold watch gleaming faintly on his wrist. Everything about him screamed success, yet his eyes carried the same exhaustion she saw in her own reflection every morning. "You seem like someone who doesn't give up easily," he said. She gave a sad laugh. "I try not to, but sometimes, life doesn't give you much of a choice. He nodded slowly, as though he understood that far too well. I know the feeling. For a while, silence filled the cafe till the copyright, the kind that wasn't awkward, just a broken bar reel. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows. The city beyond looked like a watercolor painting, blurred and soft. Then, as if breaking from a trance, he said quietly, "You know, my son loves the smell of coffee." Emma blinked, surprised. "Your son?" He smiled faintly, the corners of his eyes softening. "Yeah, he's 8, doesn't drink it, of course, but he says it reminds him of home. His mother used to make it every morning." Her heart tugged. "Used to?" His voice dropped, quiet as a confession. "She passed away 3 years ago. Cancer." Emma's breath caught. "I'm so sorry." He nodded, his gaze fixed on the dark liquid in his cup. "It's been just me and him since then. I run a company, travel a lot, try to be both father and mother, but a broken bar most nights. I fail." There was something raw in his honesty. No polish, no corporate mask, just a man who'd lost something irreplaceable. Emma sat down across from him without even thinking. "You're still trying," she said softly. "That counts for more than you think." He looked at her, genuinely seeing her this time. "And you? What keeps you trying?" She hesitated. "Maybe the same thing as you. I lost someone too, not to death, but a broken bar when my marriage ended. It felt like losing a life I'd built around one person. I thought this cafe tilde copyright would fill that hole. It did, for a while." His eyes softened. "And now?" She gave a small, tired smile. "Now, I think maybe I was just trying to prove to myself that I could build something again." For a long time, neither spoke. The clock ticked softly above the counter. The rain eased into a slow drizzle. He leaned back, watching her as she toyed with a sugar packet between her fingers. "You remind me of my late wife," he said quietly. "She believed in small, beautiful things, said they're what keep the world from falling apart." Emma felt a lump rise in her throat. "She sounds like someone I would have liked to meet." He nodded. "She would have liked you too." Something in his voice made her heart ache, a tenderness buried beneath years of solitude. When she finally glanced at the clock, it was past midnight. She should have sent him away an hour ago, but for the first time in months, she didn't want the night to end. As she refilled his cup, he smiled softly. "You're not charging me for the refill, are you?" Emma laughed, shaking her head. "On the house, you look like you needed this more than anyone." He studied her a moment, his gaze gentle. "You have no idea." The cafe tilde copyright had grown warmer, somehow cozier, as if the air itself had softened around them. The soft music played on, the lights flickered low, and for the first time in a long time, two strangers felt less like strangers. When he finally stood, he said, "Thank you for staying open." She smiled faintly. "Thank you for walking in." He hesitated at the door, looking back one last time. Maybe the world needs more places like this. Then he stepped out into the rain, his dark silhouette fading into the silver mist. Emma stood there, her heart strangely full. The clock ticked past midnight. The closed sign still hung on the counter, but she didn't flip it over. Not yet. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end after all. The morning after that rain-soaked night, the sun rose pale and soft over the city, filtering through the cafe tilde copyright windows like a hesitant promise. Emma unlocked the haven with slower hands than usual. Not because she was tired, but because something in her had shifted. She hadn't expected to dream about him, but she did. That Mausoleum Carter, as she now had stayed in her mind long after he left. His calm voice, the sadness in his eyes, the way he'd said one last coffee as though he wasn't talking about caffeine at all. It had felt a broken bar symbolic, as if both of them were standing on the edge of something about to end or something just beginning. Emma tied her apron and exhaled deeply. "Don't get carried away," she whispered to herself, flipping the open sign. "He's just a customer, a kind one, but still a broken bar, just a customer." The bell above the door jingled softly as she began her morning routine: grind beans, steam milk, wipe the counter, breathe. The usual comfort of repetition. But deep inside, she hoped that maybe, just maybe, he'd come back. Hours passed. The cafe tilde copyright filled with the usual few morning regulars: Mrs. Davenport, the retired teacher who always brought her crossword puzzle, and a young couple sharing one croissant and 1,000 smiles. But not him. By noon, the hope had turned into disappointment. She tried to scold herself. Why would he come back? He was a shot. He had meetings, drivers, assistants, a whole world miles above her little corner cafe, told the copyright. Last night was just coincidence. A lonely man who needed warmth, nothing more. She was behind the counter, staring blankly at the steaming espresso. When the bell chimed again, Emma looked up and froze. Liam stood there, framed by sunlight and the soft hum of morning chatter. This time, he wasn't alone. A small boy stood beside him, clutching a tiny bouquet of daisies. Her heart skipped. "Good morning," Liam said, his smile warmer this time. "I told you I'd be back." The boy peeked out from behind him. "Are you the lady who makes the magical coffee?" Emma blinked, then laughed softly. "Magical coffee?" Liam grinned. "He came up with that on the drive here. Said he wanted to meet the woman who made me smile last night." The words caught her off guard. Smile last night. She hadn't realized she'd done that. The boy stepped forward shyly, holding out the bouquet. "These are for you." Emma took the daisies gently, the simple gesture warming her in ways words couldn't. "Thank you. They're beautiful." Liam ruffled his son's hair. "This is Ethan," he said. "Ethan, this is Miss Emma." "Nice to meet you, Ethan," she said, kneeling a bit to his level. "Would you like a hot chocolate?" The boy's face lit up instantly. "Yes, please." Emma smiled, coming right up. As she moved behind the counter, she could feel Liam's gaze following her, and not the kind of look that made her uncomfortable, but the kind that made her feel a broken bar scene. She hadn't realized until last night how long it had been since someone really looked at her that way. When she brought Ethan's drink to their table, she noticed Liam had set aside his phone, a rare thing, she suspected, for a man like him. "So," she said, smiling, "how's business, Mr. Carter?" He chuckled softly. "You're one of the few people who've ever called me that," with a smile. "Usually," it said through gritted teeth. She raised an eyebrow. "Rough week," he exhaled. "More like a rough few years." Then, after a pause, "But today's different." Ethan sipped his hot chocolate, leaving a faint mustache of foam on his lip. "Dad says you might save our company," he blurted out suddenly. Emma blinked, confused. "Save your company?" Liam laughed quietly. "I might have exaggerated a bit on the way here. I told him good coffee can save people, maybe even companies." "Well," she said playfully, "in that case, your company's safe." Their laughter blended easily, naturally, as if they'd known each other longer than one night. They spent the next hour talking about small things mostly. Ethan told her about his favorite superhero, his dream of becoming an astronaut, and how he hated broccoli with all his soul. Liam occasionally added a comment, his tone softer every time his son spoke. Emma noticed how attentive he was to the boy. Despite his expensive suit and the quiet authority in his voice, he never once looked impatient or distracted. He was present. It made her heart ache a little to see such gentleness in a man who carried so much loneliness in his eyes. When Ethan went to the counter to pick out a cookie, Liam leaned closer and said, "He hasn't laughed like that in months." "Thank you." Emma smiled, brushing her thumb against the rim of her mug. "You don't owe me thanks. He's a sweet kid. You're good with him," he said quietly. "You remind me of someone Mo Broken Bar used to bring light into every room." She met his gaze, her chest tightening. "His mother?" He nodded, the faintest shadow crossing his face. "Yeah, she loved daisies, too." For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the coffee machine filled the silence. Then Liam cleared his throat and said, "Ma, I've been thinking about what you said last night, about closing the cafe till the copyright." She looked down. "It's just reality. The bills, the rent, a broken bar I've been holding on by threads." He leaned forward, his voice steady but warm. "What if you didn't have to?" Her head snapped up. "Liam, you don't. Listen," he interrupted gently. "I'm not here to pity you. I'm here because I believe in what this place is. When I walked in last night, it felt like I'd found something I didn't know I was missing." Her heart raced. "You mean a broken bar?" "I want to invest in the Haven," he said simply. "Help you expand, modernize a bit, maybe open a second branch, but keep the soul of Ida, the warmth, the quiet corners, the heart." Emma stared at him, stunned. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said softly. You stayed open for a stranger. You listened. You cared. That's rare, Emma. The world could use more people like you. She felt tears prick her eyes. I can't accept that. It's too much. He smiled faintly. Then don't accept it as charity. Accept it as partnership. You run the cafe till the copyright, and I'll make sure it never closes again. Before she could respond, Ethan came running back, cookie crumbs on his chin. Dad, can I come here every Saturday? Liam laughed. Only if Miss Emma doesn't mind. Emma swallowed hard, blinking back the sting in her eyes. I think I can make room in the schedule for you. Ethan grinned, triumphant. Then it's a deal. The boy's innocent excitement broke the tension, and for the first time in months, Emma felt something bloom inside her. A hope. Real, fragile, beautiful hope. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, Liam and Ethan prepared to leave. He paused by the door, glancing back at her with that same quiet smile that had started it all. Tomorrow, he said, we'll talk business. But for now, a broken bar. He nodded toward the flowers in the vase behind her. A broken bar. Maybe just let yourself believe it's not over. When they stepped outside, Emma stood at the window, watching them walk down the street, a father and son, hand in hand. The little boy turned back once and waved. She waved too, smiling through the tears she didn't bother to hide. The cafe till the copyright felt alive again. The air seemed lighter, warmer, as if the walls themselves had exhaled after holding their breath for too long. That night, after closing, Emma sat at her favorite table by the window, at the one where Liam had first sat. The rain had started again, tapping gently against the glass. She stared at the glowing lights outside, her reflection faint in the window. Her cafe till the copyright, her dream, her heart. It all felt new again. And when she looked at the daisies on the counter, bright and alive in their small glass vase, she whispered to herself with a soft, trembling smile, one last coffee turned into forever.